when you're trying to lose weight or you're trying to, eat clean, you want to find things that are going to fill you up. You could have a handful of chips for 300 calories, where you could have an entire bowl of fruits, vegetables, sweet potato, protein for the same exact amount of calories. You're going to make a lot more progress. What's up, guys? Welcome to the On Track with Annie podcast. Before we get into this episode, make sure you leave this podcast a 5-star rating and review. And let's get into the episode. So today's topic is how you can become healthier in your own life. This is a topic that we all need. You hear a lot of things out there on ways that you can be healthy. You hear a lot of different information out there that people will give you on things that you can do every single day to become healthier, eat cleaner, and be more active. And there's just a lot of misinformation out there that I kind of want to clear up. So I have a bunch of different things that I kind of want to go down the line and give you. So the number one is to avoid processed foods. So when you go in the grocery store, you see aisles and aisles of packaged foods. So what I recommend you do is go in the outside aisles of the grocery store. You always want to find things that are natural. So what's natural? A lot of the times this is one ingredient food. So what I always tell clients when they're looking at food labels and when they're looking at things to buy at the grocery store is, what is one ingredient? An apple. An apple is one ingredient. An avocado is one ingredient. If you go and you find a box of, pasta or something, or rice. Rice is a great example. Rice should just be white rice. That should be the only ingredients, or brown rice. If you see something that is vegetable oil and then salt and then modified food starch and just a ton of extra ingredients that you don't need, you know that there's some additives in there and it's making it not fully clean. So when you look at the back of a label, you want to find just that one ingredient in there. If it's something like pasta, it could be pasta with salt. You could find something like olive oil or coconut oil that's in there, something natural. But if it has a huge list of ingredients and you don't know what half of it is or why it's in there, chances are it is very processed and it's something that you want to avoid. So one thing that I buy is rice cakes, for example. Rice cakes could have artificial flavors. It could have natural flavors in it, which, by the way, natural flavors are not always natural. You have to research that and research the brand. What natural flavors are they actually using? There's a lot of research that goes into this. But if it's something like rice cakes, the ingredients in that should be whole grain brown rice or whole grain rice with salt, or something very, very simple. It shouldn't have sugar and artificial ingredients and a bunch of different yellow, whatever, red 40, all these different things that you want to avoid. It shouldn't be in there. So go down the perimeter of aisles of the store and find the natural stuff. So it could be, your lean meats, your fish, your vegetables, your fruit, something that is natural and you know what it is. So the next thing is eat more fruits and vegetables. So you want to eat foods that are going to fill you up. So this is your proteins, fiber, so fruits and vegetables and whole grains with fiber in it. Those are the things that are going to keep you full. So you always want to, when you're trying to lose weight or you're trying to, eat clean, you want to find things that are going to fill you up. So high volume food. So this could be having a vegetable based meal, something like a stir fry, which I really like, adding in, like you could do peppers and onions, and you could add in cauliflower rice, something that is high volume for less calories. So I always do these calorie comparison videos on social media, and it's like you get way more for the healthy food than you do for the food that's like, hugely processed. So chips, you could have a handful of chips for 300 calories, where you could have an entire bowl of fruits, vegetables, sweet potato, protein for the same exact amount of calories. So it's higher volume. You're going to be able to eat more of it for the same or less calories than you would be eating with something that is packaged. So go for something that is clean, fruits, vegetables, lean protein that will fill you up. And then the next thing going into that is eat whole foods. So again, like what I was talking about before, those minimal ingredients, that's what you want to focus on. So if we're going down the line of proteins, this could be Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, eggs, fish. So I always will go for like more of a white fish. You can do fattier fish, but just keep in mind that it is a lot more calories. So if you want to limit the calories, go for a lean protein. So that's chicken, that is pork chops are actually decent. That is extra lean beef, turkey burgers, shrimp, oysters, shellfish, stuff like that. You could do beef jerky, turkey jerky, egg whites. So stuff like that is, those are great protein sources to focus on. If you're going for carb sources, I always recommend something like beans, lentils, sweet potato, white potato, rice cakes, different things like that. Whole grain pastas or even like chickpea pasta and stuff like that's great. And then you have your fats. So fat sources would be something like avocado, it would be olive oil, whole eggs and fatty meats. Those can be considered a fat source. Yes, it has protein, but it's also very high in fat. Sometimes even steak could have more fat than it does protein. So always keep that in mind when you're looking at your, protein, carb, and fat sources. You could do almond butter, you could do nuts. So go for things like that when you're choosing whole foods. And then if you want your extras like condiments or different little things that you add in, you can add that stuff in. If you want a piece of chocolate or you want a couple of French fries once in a while, that's fine. But it's not like the bulk of your day. You're focusing on your whole foods first, and then you're kind of adding that in a little bit to have your balance, and that's completely fine. So the next thing is to cook at home. Whenever you go out to eat, you don't really know what's in it. So you could be getting something that is like a super healthy bowl of, I don't know, you could have vegetables in there, you could have your protein, you could think it's something that is very clean, when in reality they're adding a bunch of vegetable oils, they're adding different ingredients that you don't know what's in it. It could look like it's super healthy, they could say it's super healthy, and in reality there's a ton of additives in it. So when you go to a restaurant, make sure you research the restaurant, make sure you know what they're using. Are they using organic ingredients? Where are they getting it from? How long has it been sitting there? Is it previously frozen? Like all of these things you kind of want to pay attention to. If you cook at home, you limit the risk of eating something that is potentially unhealthy to you. A lot of these oils that they use in restaurants as well can cause a ton of inflammation. So if you notice, you go out to a restaurant, the next day, the next morning, you notice that you're a little bit inflamed, you're bloated. It could potentially be the oils and the sauces that they're using, the marinades, the dressings that you're using. All of these things you want to pay attention to. So whenever I go to a restaurant, I always try to find something that I know exactly what it is. It's minimally, they can't do much to it. I was going to say minimally processed. We don't really know that, but they can't do much to it. So something like sushi. Sushi is pretty generic anywhere that you go. It's pretty standard. They're not cooking it. They're not doing much to it. It's literally just your rice, your cucumber, avocado, your fish. It's pretty clean. Same with like poke bowls and stuff. You can kind of add your own ingredients. You know that it's fully plain. They're not doing anything to it. That's a great option. If you go to a steakhouse, you can get like a plain baked potato, a steak, steamed vegetables. You kind of can see what's on your plate and you know that there's nothing extra added to it. So that's what you would want to focus on if you do go out to eat. But the majority of the time, I would say to cook at home. The next thing is to limit added sugar. So we all know this. Try to eliminate the sugar that you're using or limit it in general because sugar does not digest well in our bodies. Just keep that in mind. Artificial sugars are the worst. I would actually go for regular brown sugar than something like Splenda or something like that. Even though it's less calories, it's not good for us. Eliminate refined sugar. That's kind of what we just talked about. Fill up on water. Water intake is super important. It's not only going to lower inflammation, it's going to keep you fuller longer. So if you're on a diet or anything like that, you got to make sure you're drinking a ton of water because your body will play and your mind will play tricks on you. It's going to kind of tell you that you're hungry and, force you to have more cravings if you're actually dehydrated and you're thirsty. So make sure that you are loading up on water because this will help you a ton. It will flush things out. You'll be way less bloated and you will feel so much better. The next thing is quality over calories. So we all are counting calories when we're paying attention to how many calories that we're taking in. But always keep in mind that some of these calories are not good calories. You want to make sure that you are still eating, the quality calories. We want to make sure you're eating clean, like what we just talked about. You'll be less inflamed. You'll notice way more progress. You'll be more full. And you're going to make a lot more progress if you do pay attention to what you're eating rather than just counting calories. Calories do matter a ton, but it also matters what the quality of the calories are. The next thing is to read food labels, what we just talked about. Practice meal prepping. So a lot of the time what happens with us is we are rushing out the door in the morning. We grab something quick. We get to lunchtime. We're starving. We snack. And then it gets to dinner time hours and hours later, and we just eat our entire kitchen, entire fridge. And then after that, we're still hungry because we didn't give our body enough food and we're going for more snacks. So this is just a recipe for disaster. So what I always recommend is to have the same breakfast every day, have a time every day that you're eating, always rely on that breakfast to fill you up, give you the calories that you need. Something that I like to do is like overnight oats. If you have to go to work, have that prepped in the fridge, have like 2 or 3 of them prepped, grab it, run out the door, make some eggs really quick, something very simple. And then prep your lunch. So if you know you're going to be home for breakfast and dinner, don't worry about that. Just prep your lunch. So you have something midday. So you're not waiting hours and hours and trying to figure out what do I have, or you're just snacking in the middle of the day. Prep your lunches. And that way you will not be starving when you get to dinner time and want to eat everything. So make sure you're spacing your meals out every like 3, 4, 5 hours so that you are getting consistent calories over the course of the day and consistent protein. The next thing is to this is a good one. Appreciate less expensive food. So a lot of people think that healthy eating is super expensive. It absolutely is not. Go to the farmer's market, get the vegetables and fruit that are in season, which are typically cheaper. In season fruits and vegetables are way cheaper. You can look online at what's in season in the summer, in the spring, in the fall, in the winter. Look at those, buy more of that. Buy things from stores that are going to be less expensive. If you go to Whole Foods all the time, obviously, usually something like that is going to be more expensive. But there's a ton of grocery stores, there's farmers markets that are a lot cheaper. So if you can find foods that are cheaper for you, go ahead and get that. It doesn't need to be something crazy. You don't need to get like this insane like fillet of fish when you go to the grocery store. Find something simple. You can get tuna. You can get a lot of cheap items, rice. All of these clean foods are very inexpensive. The next thing is to avoid artificial ingredients. You never want to consume artificial ingredients. I don't care what anyone says. Protein powders have a ton of artificial ingredients. So if you are, you could be eating or drinking something that you think is super healthy, but in reality, it includes a lot of artificial ingredients. That includes sucralose, which is in a lot of our foods. The label could say, organic, natural, gluten-free, dairy-free. It could contain, however, a lot of artificial ingredients. So make sure you pay attention to that. Choose unrefined over refined foods. This is a great key point to keep in mind. Eat 6 times a day. I wrote this down, but I actually think it just depends on consistent calories over the course of the day. So I always recommend having 3 meals, 1 snack. That way you're satisfied. You're eating within a certain window of time. Intermittent fasting also helps a ton. So having a fasting window, you're able to eat more in a less amount of time. And this can really help you. The next thing is to limit packaged snack foods. These will never fill you up like a meal will. I think people always are like, what snacks can I have? The key is to not have a ton of snacks. You want to make sure that you are eating real meals and limiting the snacks that you have. So don't worry about healthy snacks and not healthy snacks. I would just focus on your actual meals. And then you could have a snack like a Greek yogurt, a protein shake, a piece of fruit, something super simple. Make water your primary beverage. I know a lot of people like to have Celsius and Diet Cokes and alcohol and all of these things. Alcohol is fine once in a while, but make sure that water is your primary beverage of choice. Teas are great, green tea, black tea. Just make sure that it is something clean and you're not consistently having Diet Cokes and Celsius every single day. And then the next thing is to focus on your lean protein. I already mentioned this. You want to make sure that you are consuming 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of body weight. So if you weigh 130 pounds, 110 to 130 grams of protein in a day should be more than enough. So focus on that. And the way to do that, again, is to make sure you're having at least 4 meals. If you only eat twice a day, there's no way you can get that amount of protein in. So even if your calories are low, you're not going to be able to absorb and use that protein if you were eating consistently throughout the day. So that's another really important point to make, is that the protein is really important. So if you're only eating a few times a day, you're not going to be able to get that in. So I hope this helped you guys, and stay tuned for the next episode, and I will see you guys next time.